Hello, my name's William Hill, Trooper Hill. I'm the current president of the local chapter of the Southern Nevada Horse Cavalry. I've been a local member for 12 years. The reason I do what I do for the Buffalo Soldiers can be summed up in an old African proverb that states, "Until lions have historians, tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter." Well, I want to be a historian for the lion. That's why I do what I do. I do this also to honor my father and men like him that has gone before, the men and women, I should say, that's gone before me, that I stand on their shoulders.
I became a Buffalo Soldier because my great-grandfather, he was a preacher in the Civil War, and he preached on both sides, the Confederate and the Yankee side of the war. The Buffalo Soldiers they came into inception in 1866 by an act of Congress. These were black soldiers that had fought on the North and the South during the Confederate War. And so they already knew how to use guns and ammunitions and ride horses and the like. So the government decided to use these black troops to form the 9th and 10th Horse Cavalry, 24th, 25th Infantry Division, and to guide the settlers across the Western Territory. They built forts, they strung lines for communications, they guarded the settlers, wagon trains, the gold miners, and they fought Indians, bandoleros, Comanches, and they were fierce fighters, as the Indians would call them. That's how they got the name of Buffalo Soldiers, because of the fierce fighting competition and the woolly hair on their head. The Indians did give them the name Buffalo Soldiers, which is a nickname. Actually, they're the 9th and 10th Horse Cavalry, is the actual name of these soldiers.
One of the most awesome things for me was learning that the 9th and 10th Regiment, or the 9th Regiment specifically, were the original Park Rangers. It's just awesome to think of that, to think that the West may not have been won if it wasn't for the 9th and 10th Cavalry. The mottos of both, ready and forward, we can, we will, are very significant still today.
The reason I joined this organization is because they have a mission to continue to teach the history of the Buffalo Soldiers. I think it's very important that we continue to do so with all the accomplishments that the Buffalo Soldiers did. I speak for those who can't speak for themselves, such as Lieutenant Flipper, who was one of the first graduates of West Point. Also speak for Kathy Williams. Yes, that was a female Buffalo Soldier who disguised herself to serve this nation. And also for my dad, who was one of the first African-American divers in the Navy. So as you can see, it's very important to continue the legacy of the Buffalo Soldier and all those men and women who served this nation.
I became interested in the cavalry when I was a kid watching Western, and I never saw any black soldiers on that, but later on I did discover that there was some Buffalo Soldiers, but it was black, and the agent had named them Buffalo Soldier, and so I got interested in it. And when I came to our church here, I met a couple of these guys, and he asked me about joining, so I decided I would join the Buffalo Soldiers here, and I have enjoyed it very much. I'm the chaplain here also with these soldiers, and we are there to keep them around in the spiritual well-being of the soldier.
My goal is to educate children of all ages, even adults, the importance of being in the military and learning about history. To let people know what the African American has done, and as far as history, my family has served in the military as Buffalo Soldiers as far back as I can possibly imagine, on both sides of my family, mother and father, from grandparents, uncles, aunts, all relatives. Most of them did not return. I was also United States Navy. My highest rank was Chief Petty Officer. I served Special Forces from Panama, Bosnia, Somalia, you name the war within the last 20 to 30 years. I served honorably. My education far goes beyond a master's degree.
The reason I decided to join the Buffalo Soldiers is enjoying watching Western all day. No, but I honestly, truly love what the Buffalo Soldiers stand for. Means of honor and courage to protect the country, our country.
I joined the Buffalo Soldiers due to a gentleman named Jerome Fry. When he told me that there was a group here in Las Vegas that worked with horses, being I grew up on horseback, I wanted to join, find out more about it. Went to the place they were at, talked to the ladies and gentlemen there, and learned about the Buffalo Soldiers at the same time. While I was learning this, I decided this is something I really wanted to do, really very interested in. So they got me taught and learning about Buffalo Soldiers. I am now working with them as instructor, teaching other people about the Buffalo Soldiers. Not only children, but we teach citizens, senior citizen groups about the Buffalo Soldiers. I am very proud to be a member of the Buffalo Soldiers. I am as proud of this as I was when I was in the military, wearing the uniform of the United States Army. Now I wear the uniform of the Buffalo Soldiers.
I moved to Las Vegas with the idea of starting a riding ranch, but upon reaching Las Vegas, I found out that the cost, I decided wasn't a good idea, but I heard about the Buffalo Soldiers, and I joined the Buffalo Soldiers, and I became the quartermaster. And I was a quartermaster here for 4 years. At this point, what we're trying to do is go out to different schools, different elementary schools, and bring the history of the Buffalo Soldier to the young kids in the neighborhoods. So this fundraiser that we're having today is to make people aware of what we're doing in the neighborhoods and try to prolong the history of the Buffalo Soldiers.
A lot of these people have done great work in the development of this country and have basically been wrote out of history books or footnote.
The history books in Hollywood have just basically just left us out. With my love of history, growing up in Texas in the 60s when everything was cowboy culture, my love of horses and guns and my military background seemed like the Buffalo Soldiers were a perfect fit. So as soon as I found out that there was an organization here in the local chapter, I couldn't wait to sign up and be a part of it. Traveling all over the state of Nevada has been an adventure in itself. We've gone from Carson City to Laughlin, talking about the Buffalo Soldiers. Ironically, Theodore Roosevelt had a quote that states, "If you don't know your past, you won't know your future." And that's not exactly what he said, but that's kind of paraphrasing it. But ironically, it wouldn't be a President Theodore Roosevelt if it hadn't been for the Buffalo Soldiers in San Juan Hill and the Spanish-American War, because the Buffalo Soldiers saved his bacon. So I'm just taking a little advice from Teddy Roosevelt to know my history, know my past, pass it on to the future kids so they can understand their place in America. Because after all, African American history is American